So,
Um,
hi, Florence.
Hi, just for your edifice, the meeting will start. We'll turn on the YouTube. You will wait 3 seconds for the YouTube. So anything you're saying now is not recorded. Anything after the 3 second break will be recorded. So you
Thanks for
know.
the reminder. Appreciate it. Hey, everybody. Hey, Bobby, Kian, Shahanez. So I'm gonna get started making some
Hi
notes
there.
of who. So Richard, you are a committee member. I mean, a CB1 member, right? Richard Kuzami, or Rich Kuzami,
That's correct.
right?
Richard is the board
Right.
member, he's
Are
not a
there,
committee
are
member.
there any other CB1 members that aren't on the Transportation Committee?
Jahanazah.
No, she's
Oh, she is
she's
a
on.
committee member this year. I'm sorry about that.
Yep.
Please forgive me. Yeah, this year she is on
She
the
was
committee.
our bonus baby added in the after the
Hey,
draft, on the last
Dominic.
day of the draft.
Hi, Dominic. It's Quinella. How are you?
Hey, Cornella, how are you? Cornella Williams, right? I hear
Yes.
you. I hear you, but I don't see you. Why don't I see you? I don't mean I just mean your spot, your square. I see it now. So let me jot your name down. Thank you. And it's Williams. Any other CB1 members that aren't on the committee that are here that could announce themselves?
Did you get me, Dominic? I think I'm still on the committee. It's Antonella.
I have you, Antonella. Let me put a Y next to you. We'll take a roll call with the committee members.
Okay.
Tom Ryan's here.
Hey, Tom Ryan. Yep, you're on the committee. I know. Thank you. Heather, is Heather a CB1 member that's not on the committee? I don't have a Heather on the committee.
There's no Heather on the committee. Heather, can you speak and say where you're from for Dominic? Are you a public person from the community?
And also Richard David, same time? Okay, so Heather's in the public. Okay.
I can say he's in transit, but Richard David is also part of the Queens Regional Community Affairs Office at Con Ed.
Thank
He's in
you.
transit, but he is logged on.
Yes, he is logged on, and I believe 646 number
Yep.
that might be one of our subject matter experts. Wilkins, are you able to say hello from Con Ed?
646 or 265.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Wilkins Santana with Con Edison Transmission Construction.
I want to change your name, Wilkins. Please bear with me a moment so that we don't have you on the meeting with your phone number out in the open. Bear with me.
And Heather, we got your acknowledgement there. Thank you. That we can't hear you.
Wilkins, Wilkens. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. Wilkins.
Kins. Thank you.
No S. Oh, is there an S, Wilkin?
And
There
what's
is
your
a S.
last name, sir?
Santana, Santana.
Is there an S at the end of your name?
No, it's just Santana.
No, but is
No,
Wilkin, is it Wilkin or Wilkins?
Wilkins, Wilkins.
My
Thank
bad.
you, sir.
Thanks.
No worries.
We also have Syed, if you wouldn't mind just announcing yourself briefly.
Hi, my name is Syed Musab. I'm the lead engineer from Substation Engineering Group.
Wait, I'm going to interrupt you guys now. I don't think we're recording yet, and I do want to get all these introductions on the recording, right,
Oh,
Florence?
I'm just doing the name outs for the board office.
So we'll
So
have to do that again. Syed, what's your
yeah,
last name?
you'll do your.
Hi, my name is Syed Musab. I'm from Central Engineering, Khan Edison for Substation Engineering Design Group. Lead engineer on the job.
Welcome.
Yep. Thanks.
Heather, are you from the community, Heather?
Hello, Yuma, by the way.
Hello.
It's 6:37, so if you want us to start the YouTube, we can start now. It's at your call.
Thank you.
Shall we start it?
Yep, please.
Okay, we're going to start the YouTube. You'll need 3-second interval, and then you'll be able to be on recording. Harish Studios, please begin.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dominic Stiller. It is Wednesday, the 13th of November. This is the Queens CB1 Transportation Committee monthly meeting. And first thing that I am going to do is do roll call of committee members. So if you are here, please say yes. And if you're not here, please say no. Danielle Aliberti. Kian Betancourt.
Yes.
Antonella Di Severio. Antonella. So she was here, maybe she dropped off. Adam Cox. He will be late. Shahanez.
Yes.
Christina Lastras. Is she still on this committee, Florence, Christina? Because I'm looking at a June list that I repurposed. Florence, thank you.
Hey, Dom, I'm here. I
Hey,
wasn't
Antonella.
able to unmute myself. I was having
Gotcha.
difficulties.
Appreciate it.
Dom, Christina is indeed still on the committee.
Okay, so not here. Yuma.
Present.
Amin Mahedi. Tom Ryan.
Here.
Bobby Feltow.
Here.
Just looking for you. Did I remember pronouncing that right, Bobby? Feltow?
It's like Felto. Felto.
Feltow.
Very close though.
Thanks. I am Dominic Stiller. I am here. And Nas Magutas? Not here yet. Okay. So the main purpose of this meeting is a presentation by Con Edison called the Con Edison LIC Reliability Project. It's about a new transmission line between Vernon and the Newtown substation. To lead that presentation, we have Rachel Hutt, Corporate Affairs Manager of the Queens Regional and Community Affairs, as well as subject matter experts that I would ask you, Rachel, to introduce. So please begin. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. There's going to be plenty of time for questions at the end. Yes, my name is Rachel Hutt. I'm a member of the Queens Regional Community Affairs Office at Con Edison, and I'm responsible for all of the community outreach for this project. And I'm going to kick it to Wilkins, if you can introduce yourself briefly.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wilkins Santana. I'm an engineer managing the construction in the street of the Vernon to Newtown 138 kV project.
Thanks. And Syed, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Syed Musab. I'm the Central Engineering Lead for Substation Design Engineering, working on the Vernon side and the Newtown side for substation design stuff.
Amazing. I'm going to just bear with me one moment. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here. Entire screen. Share window. Can you all see my screen? Just wanted to make sure. All right. So today we are going to talk more about this project, the transmission route, the projected project schedule, what to expect during construction, community outreach, feedback and next steps, and our communities. And Wilkins and Syed, please feel free to interject at any point with additional information about the project. So without further ado, here is a map of our current electric network within Queens. This project is going to take place between the 1Q and the 10Q networks. So the Long Island City and Sunnyside electric networks.
Rachel,
And
please forgive me. You have to change the screen. You're still on the home screen for the project.
really,
Map is not displaying.
it's just displaying this first.
That is correct.
So you're not seeing the other pages?
Only on the side profile. You have to click on it. Go to your left, well, our left, and it's on the side profile.
When you hit the share button, you may have hit share this tab instead of the window or the entire screen. So even if you're clicking on the other thing, we might only be seeing that one.
Okay, let me try that again. I'm used to Teams. Let's see here. Oh, so I should do the full window?
Yeah, so do entire screen, and then you should be able to switch between those.
Entire screen.
Precisely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. It does it.
Resolved.
When I click.
Entire screen.
Yep, it's not letting. Okay. Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
There you go.
Thank you for your help. I really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
From current slide. Okay, so we talked about this already. Now you can see the electric networks. It's the 1Q and 10Q networks where this transmission line is going to be taking place. And as you know, we have a lot of customers at Con Ed in those particular areas. To take a little bit of a step back, at Con Edison, we have a clean energy commitment to prepare the grid for a renewable future and impact of climate change, and to deliver 100% clean power to customers by 2040. As you probably all are aware, Long Island City and the surrounding areas continue to experience incredible growth, which is causing greater demand on the electrical grid, right? There's all sorts of new high-rise apartment buildings going up. More and more cars are being driven on the roads that are electric. There's more MTA buses that are going electric. And all of those things are, and more buildings are also going electric. All of those things, of course, are great for the environment. But the other impact of that is that causes a greater load on our electric grid. So to that end, at Con Edison, we are trying to be proactive, because if we didn't do anything by 2026, like how fast LIC and the surrounding areas are growing, there would not be enough electricity to meet the demand of the residents and businesses that live in LIC. So we are proactively creating this new transmission line that will be built between the Vernon and Newtown substations to address reliability needs caused by this increased demand. And the total investment of this project is $125 million. And to kind of put this into perspective, I found some really interesting stats. And this is from the the Long Island City Partnership Neighborhood Snapshot. So between 2010 and 2021, LIC's population grew by 40%, which is 5.7 times faster than the growth rate for New York City. And since 2009, more than 20,000 new residential units were built across the greater area. So here is a look at the transmission route. This is a solidified route. So you can see we've got the Vernon substation, which is at 40th Ave and Vernon Boulevard, ending 3 miles later at Newtown substation, which is located in Sunnyside. It's going to go past NYCHA houses, the Queensbridge houses, and it is going to go around Amtrak Sunnyside yards as well. And another thing to note too, before I go to the next slide, is amongst a lot of different reasons, one reason that this route was chosen is the fact that it goes through a lot of more kind of industrial areas. And so the impact to residents that either live in homes or apartment buildings will be mitigated. And actually, I want to kind of open it up to Syed and Wilkins. Can you add any other information that you think would be beneficial for this committee to know about this transmission route?
Hi, good evening. So the transmission route is approximately 3 miles, and it'll be done in a excavating trench. The trench will be approximately 6 feet, about 5 foot deep. It will consist of installing ducts, backfilling, and performing final restoration. In terms of, there will be minimal noise to the community while during the excavation when they use the jackhammer in order to break out the concrete road base. In terms of impacts, there will be, as they're going through the mid blocks, there'll be limited parking in place because we'll be taking out signage permits in order to allow for the contractor to safely direct traffic and secure the safety of the pedestrians crossing the street. At the end of the day, before close up and during the work hours, there will be housekeeping performed. That way, barricades are not left out of place. There's no debris, and the community is not impacted or have eyesores of looking like a chaos work zone. If there is a bus stop impacted, through our government liaison office and the permits group, we communicate with the MTA. We let them know which bus stops may be impacted, what of duration, and the minute the work is completed with temp restoration and final restoration following with mill and pave, it's given directly back to the community. In terms of noise, the contractor has approved DEP noise mitigation plan, which they must adhere to. And we have someone on site, a chief construction inspector, overseeing the work and making sure that the DEP noise mitigation plan, it is posted. In terms of catch basins, the catch basins are secure of any debris. So you normally use like a cloth or it looks like a diaper system in case there's any soil cutting, just to prevent any catch basins or sewers impacted. When it comes to bike lanes, they must adhere to the DEP bike lane rules and regulations. So no bike lane would be eliminated. We just follow the DEP guidelines of slightly shifting them with proper signage and proper cones and cone topper barricades for the public. And that's one of the main reasons why in some mid blocks you would see that we will have what they call 2-to-1 permits for signage, temporary construction, no parking. That way, during the work hours, we're able to keep the bike lanes open for the community and the residents, and then as well as keeping two-way traffic and proper traffic flowing with adequate number of trained flaggers on site.
Thank you so much for that additional context. Really appreciate it. So to give everyone the projected project schedule, fall as in happening right now, we're engaging the community and you all are part of that. Manhole installation has started and trenching and road construction will start winter of 2025. And construction will continue throughout the year of 2025. and then it ends. And so the project still is going on in 2026, but it's internal substation work at our Newtown substation, and that is, within a Con Ed property. And so the work in 2026 is not going to impact residents in any meaningful way. So if you kind of notice, as opposed to other previous Con Ed infrastructure projects, this project schedule is on a very expedited timeline, with the fact that the main construction work is really only taking place within 1 year. And Wilkins kind of already covered this, but right, living, working, or traveling through the area, we adhere to all the guidelines. So it's construction on weekdays, approximately 8 to 4, on Saturdays, 8 to 6. There will be no construction on Sundays. And Wilkins already very thoughtfully went through all of what to expect during construction. And these photos are not the actual photos of the project, but it's kind of to give a little bit of an illustration of what the trenching may look like. So as far as community outreach, we are reaching out to community boards, elected officials, nonprofits, religious institutions. We'll be very shortly reaching out to NYCHA, Queensbridge houses, government agencies, you name it. We are reaching out so that folks know about this project and they know what to expect. And other ways that we're going to be getting the word out, we are going to have construction signage for those residents and businesses that are impacted along or near the route. There will be email campaigns, work notifications, which is a different type of email, but an email, and then flyer distribution and physical mailers that will go out. These materials will go out in English, Spanish, Mandarin, and Bengali to ensure that there is accessibility and equity in getting this word out about this project. Additionally, we are going to be building a website on our main page, coned.com, and we'll also have a social media presence. As soon as those materials are created, of course, I will gladly share with Florence and she can kind of disseminate to this group. And then as far as, feedback and next steps, we really are in the beginning stages of, reaching out to the community. We really value you all as community partners. And so, opening it up as far as questions, as far as, what challenges you foresee, and advice that you may have for us. We'll be working closely with Florence to also kind of help get the word out. Sometimes people may see something from Con Ed and, not like really read it or whatnot, but maybe they're more like keyed into the work of Community Board 1. And so we're really working closely with our government partners such as Community Board 1 and our nonprofit partners to also be other avenues to kind of get the word out about this project as well. And then, opening it up to the floor as far as other ideas or suggestions we should consider to mitigate the impact on businesses and residents. And before I kind of open it up for questions, I just kind of want to also add that we gratefully and gladly fund a variety of local Queens nonprofits near and on this route that this project is going to be taking place. We have over 40 nonprofit partners that we work with in our Queens service territory. Our nonprofit groups are dedicated to environmental stewardship, mitigating climate change, social justice, and clean energy and tech workforce development. And some of those nonprofit funding partners are the Variety Boys and Girls Club, Urban Upbound, Hunters Point Parks Conservancy, and Andromeda Community Initiative. So I kind of want to open it up to the group. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And, wanting to ask if folks have any kind of general questions about this project, any concerns. We also have two really wonderful subject matter experts that can answer any specific construction-related questions, but wanting to kind of open it up to the group at large. Yes,
So-
Dominique.
Sure. So, thanks. So if you don't mind, I'll take the people in order that they put their hands up. So Tom is next, and then I'll just talk first. So we get Tom, and then Kian. Hold on, because I always forget to get it because they don't come up in order. And Bobby. So I would like to ask Wilkins a question. What is the water pressure running through these pipes, Wilkins? It's a joke. I know it's not water. It's electricity. Wilkins, what is the voltage running through these, or Rachel, what's the voltage running through these underground cables? And then my follow-up question is, where are they? Are they in the vehicle lanes? Are they in the parking lanes? You mentioned the bike lane interruptions. So where are they in the streets, and what is the voltage?
So I can answer that question for you. So the voltage of this transmission feeder is 138 kV. So it's 138,000 volts. It's a transmission feeder line tied between the Vernon substation and the Newtown substation.
138 kilovolts.
Correct.
138,000 volts. And are the main trunk supply lines or conduits encased in concrete when they're
Yes, the conduits are FRE conduits, and they are concrete encased.
FRE to me is some type of fiberglass.
Correct.
So then, thank you.
In terms of the lane,
predominantly, like how far are they predominantly from the center line of the street? Like the crest of the street?
normally, so it depends from mid block to intersection. So normally the intersections, the ducts tend to, dip a little, in the sense because that's like where the trunk main sewers are much deeper. But generally, depending on the width of the street, if a street is like a 30-foot width, you're talking about the trench is going to be approximately 5 to 6 feet away from the curb, because we don't put them right in the center, because that's normally where the DP sewer is. So as the route is designed, it's designed to not intersect a New York City sewer, but also go underneath or above, depending on, normally in Queens, these sewer laterals are pretty deep. So normally we just install them underneath electric and gas services at approximately of a depth of the excavation of 5 foot deep.
Understood. Are there any, this is my last question, and I'll open it. Are there any environmental concerns with the permanent installation, any Con Ed reps regarding the streets or the substations? Are there any environmental concerns to the public around in the vicinity of the substations or the transmission lines?
No, sir. There's no environmental concern. This is a feeder that's going to be installed in trenchant-like manner. So we'll be excavating. There's going to be what we call a train behind. It's going to be in a train-like system that we call. So there's going to be 2 crews excavating. One normally excavates the intersections, because those take time to excavate. Mostly they're done by hand. And intersections do have limited steps, because you don't want to affect the flow of traffic. Then you have a second crew excavating the mid blocks. Usually that crew first performs test pits to locate all the utilities to the buildings, like gas and electric. That way there's no service interruptions. And they also locate the water services by hand.
Sure. So
Um,
you're the street manager and Syed is the substation lead engineer. Is that right?
in this
That is
sense,
correct.
yes. In this case, originally
Sure.
when I started my career, I did design and I moved away and then
That's
started
also
doing construction.
okay. So you're saying that there are no environmental impacts and you're mainly addressing the temporary installation. So are you also saying, are there any environmental impacts caused by the permanent installation of this?
There's no
138?
environmental impact. This is a solid dielectric, which means the cable is running inside a duct. The cable is not encased in any dielectric fluid oils. It's the ducts are installed, a concrete encased, and then once the underground system and the duct underground system is in place, then we pull the cable, we splice it,
Sure. No,
and then
I got you. Just in the respect of time, because I know people say I talk too much. Let me just move on, if I could, please.
go
And
ahead.
so
No
much
worries.
to
But
Syed.
to answer the question, no environmental impact before, during, or after during this installation.
For the street. Thank you very much, Wilkins. Syed, what about the power stations? What about the substations? Are there any permanent environmental concerns for any of the residents permanently
No.
after the renovations, after the increased
So
power?
yeah, so our transformer is a oil containing. It has a oil in there, which is a mineral oil. But we have moats around it to contain if there is in case of any kind of. But these are like this used for cooling on the transformer. It's also used for oil dielectric is for the dielectric strength of the fluid itself is that for insulation as well. But mainly its purpose is to cool the transformer. But these oils, we have moats in our in our Newtown substation, which can contain that oil, so that's not a problem for us.
So no. And Rachel, then, do you have any awareness of any permanent environmental concerns for any member of the community as you manage this project?
No,
None.
none have come up, and there are no environmental concerns.
Okay. Tom Ryan?
Yeah, I'm trying to piece it together. This is not the first time we've been here. This substation, is this the power that's coming from upstate that's going through the Hudson River and underneath it somewhere and coming into the Vernon substation? Is that how it's set up?
So the power flow in the system is like it's hard to predict where it's coming from, but in general, it's basically giving the power from 138 kV ring of the Vernon substation, which is probably getting some power from the north as well. Yes, it could be, but the way the whole power system is interconnected, the whole eastern interconnect is connected in the whole US, so you cannot really tell where you're getting the power from. But yes, it's basically providing the 138 kV voltage for the Newtown substation from the Vernon side of the load pocket. So we basically it could be getting some of the powers from the north as well. Yes.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you. Where is this power coming from? Multi sources?
So the way the power system is interconnected in our system, the electrical power systems, you cannot really tell like where it's exactly coming from, but then the whole grid reliability is interconnected through multiple stations, right? So this is just to connect the 138 kV from Vernon into Newtown substation to drop down the voltage for our Newtown load pocket. So 138 kV, it could be coming, it is interconnected to multiple other stations. So it could be like for future clean energy interconnections when power coming like there is an HVDC line being installed from all the way up north of the New York State, coming down into like the Astoria East interconnect, and then from there it could be power like for the future clean energy initiatives. It will help us in that. Yes.
So I'm sorry, I have difficulty understanding you. So this connection just hook up two substations. Is it two-way? Does the power go from station A to station B and back from B to A, depending
No,
on
it's only from Vernon into Newtown because Newtown is like a distribution station. So it's to send power from Vernon 138 kV ring down to Newtown substation. for distributing in the Newtown road pocket.
Okay, so it's just one way, the power line.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes. But
so it's not
but
going back
our
and forth.
so in general, I think more layman terms, it would be like that area is actually receiving more. It's the power need is growing, and we do a forecast study of 10-year study, 20-year study, 30 study. We have a project development group who does a study of load demands as it grows throughout the years and how the development is happening in different load areas. So we did a forecast and we found out that this area will need more power, and hence it should have another transformer that it distribute that power into the substation so that it can meet the need of the customers in the area.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm trying difficult hearing. The route you chose, it's not the most direct route. Why would you build it the way you did, going up, down, around 3 miles where it seems, I know you can't do a straight line, but wouldn't it make more sense to do a more direct route?
So I could chime into that. So to add to the previous answers, so this is a 138 feet route from a transmission level substation to a distribution substation in order so that the system can handle the future load that's forecasted, being that the population is increasing, all these buildings are coming up, to avoid, brownouts, blackouts, and we are able to handle, for example, a heat wave in the summer. In terms of the route was developed, as you could tell, especially around that area, just, subsurface, intricate web of subsurface utilities, right? So some streets are narrow, some streets are wider. There is sewer, gas, water mains, water services, sewer laterals. And additionally, there are a number of existing transmission feeders in the area. So the route was chosen because of a contingency, route diversity. So there are parameters in place of, for example, the number of transmission or feeder, primary, secondary feeders that could be on a certain street in case there's a natural disaster. For example, let's say there's a natural disaster, you have 4 feeders running on the same block. Something happens on that block. Now you have those 4 feeders down, and the load on a certain pocket of neighborhood is impacted. That neighborhood doesn't have power for some time until it's repaired and recovered. This feeder was designed for contingency and then route diversity, just in case something happens in another block of feeders affected by a natural disaster. At least this feeder is able to pick up the extra load and keep your residents and communities uninterrupted. That means AC can run. That means the heating system can run. That means businesses still have power to power their goods and keep their restaurant runnings and refrigerator runnings. So that's why. And then at the same time, the impact of the community of like designing this route, I know it's not, it's solidified, but when we invested the time to take all the studies from the test pits and the thermal studies from the soil that was taken, this was the best route for the system, the community, and the less impactful, rather than choosing a route, for example, going down Vernon Boulevard, across the Queens Midtown Tunnel, and then down Borden Avenue, and impacting like heavy traffic and businesses and places of worship, for example.
Okay, one last question, trying to get this wrapped around. You project obviously population growth and demand, not only for air conditioning in the summer, but all new buildings are being built using only electricity. How far out, number of years have you gone out to figure you're going to cover under your calculations?
That answer would be, I guess, for
I mean, in general, we can say that.
the answer
So,
would be for engineering, but if it's not available, it could be table, and Miss Hutt will provide your answer.
yeah, I
But go
mean,
ahead.
but for a very yeah, you're right, Whitkin. So what we do is that when we do the studies of different road pockets in our areas, so what we do is that like for now, this substation was already in place. We had a spare vault in this to add transformers, circuit switcher, and circuit interrupter to add more power into this load pocket. But in future, if we need, because if there is a higher power demand, then we'll do more. Then we will have this study done again in the area, and based off of that, there is be a need for a project for building a new substation in the area. You know, so
I'm
that
just
study.
asking for, sorry, I'm just asking for a date. How far are you going? Today is 2024. How far are you going out for demand? 10 years, 5 years? That's all I want to know.
For this study, I have to check and get back to you. How far out they looked into it, yeah. But it's constantly shifting though. It depends on like the technology development. Like for example, electric car recently came into our system, so suddenly,
What I'm trying to
So
do is, Ms. Hunt said if we didn't do it, we didn't run out of power in a year, 1226. So
Yeah.
how far is this going to take us out?
Hi, it's Richard in our Community Affairs Division at Con Ed. Our forecasts are typically 10 years.
10 years. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so we are going to move on to, thanks, Tom, very much. So good questions. Kian, please. And then Bobby, and then Antonella.
Yeah, hi. Thank you guys so much for the presentation and walking us through all of that. Given this is a transportation committee, I just had a transportation related question. So not at all an expert on this stuff, but I do know that one of the things that was mentioned was disruption to things like, pedestrian safety and bike infrastructure, and you guys mentioning you're going to do everything you can to curtail that. My question was kind of twofold. One is, could you describe more exactly what the bike lane detours look like? I've seen a couple of different varieties of that. One where they just kind of say go around, and another where they put up the kind of plastic barriers and kind of make a de facto bike lane. Sometimes they split it into pedestrian and bike lane. So that's my first question, is just simply what exactly does that bike lane detour look like? The second part of my question is, I noticed that one part of this line is going along 24th Street in Long Island City. That is a conventional painted unprotected bike lane. The other part goes along 43rd Avenue in Sunnyside, which you may or may not know, but that is a vital bike corridor. It actually has a big protected bike lane, so it's parking protected, meaning it takes a very different form than the one that's on 24th Street. So my second question is simply, is the way you're going to be detouring the protected bike lane different from the way that you might detour the unprotected conventional painted one?
I'm going to let Wilkins answer that.
So I will answer it like this because it's not my first transmission feeder that I'm installing. The recently completed inquiries was 6 miles Rainier Corona from Long Island City to Corona, Queens. So as per DOT, bike lanes during constructions have to remain, and then we need to slightly shift them. We have to follow all their guidelines, and their guidelines will be fully enforced. If they're not enforced, they would send their crews out there, they notify our crews that they're not being enforced. But the proper signage, for example, men working, men digging, there's also another signage alerting the vehicles that are driving down the road, the individuals driving down the road, that they are sharing the lane with, that there is a bike lane, alerting them that there is a bike lane. So to answer your question, regardless of the different type of bike lanes, in the sections that we're crossing, they will be remaining in place and they will be accommodated based on the guidelines provided by the New York City DOT bike lane force. Do I have specific examples? We haven't gone through that area yet, but we could get to.
What?
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. I think mostly, and I don't know if that's a question with
You're
DOT
breaking
maybe,
up.
but oh, I'm sorry. Can everyone else hear me? Or okay.
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
like so like to not to, I don't mean to repeat myself, but to answer your question, like regardless of the setting there is, there will always be a bike lane there for the community. So they would, if they have to be shifted, you know, like let's say 3 foot east, that way we can accommodate for the trench and then the vehicles crossing. There will be proper cones, cone topper, proper signage. There will be proper amount of trained certified flaggers out there, ensuring that the community could safely use them uninterruptedly.
okay. So there would be some kind of barrier or cones or
Oh,
something
100%,
delineating that. Okay.
a hundred
Okay.
percent. We're not gonna leave it to the community and the residents to figure it out. There's gonna be signage in place, like it's shifting. There's gonna be signage in place, like hey, vehicles, you are alerted that you are sharing a space. There are gonna be adequate amount of trained, certified flaggers. Depending on the area they were working with, a lot of these flaggers communicate with each other via walkie-talkies. So it's like, even if, like, for example, random scenario, let's say you're getting a concrete delivery because you're pouring the concrete cap after everything has been installed after backfill. And, we need a flagger there to let the um, individuals driving their bikes saying, "Hey, you need to stop for like 2 minutes so we can, let the concrete pass through." There is going to be that person there, but in terms of bike lanes, as per New York City DOT, would not be interrupted. There is guidelines and systems in place that we have to adhere to in order to um, do this work.
Okay. Got it. That's helpful.
Kian, I'm gonna jump in and I'm piggybacking on what Kian was saying, Wilkins. So it's a great point, and I think that you are the buck stops here, right? You are the head of the street construction management for this project. Am I
Oh no,
right?
I'm bottom of the totem pole, but
Well,
but
what's your title?
I'm engineer.
Are
My
you
office
are
title
you
is engineer, but I manage the street construction. But
so
I
do
was
you?
just,
Yeah, understand. Let me finish. Thanks. Do you have authority over the contractors or not?
correct. I have authority.
Okay, so I'm a little concerned, and I'm a structural engineer. I'm in the New York City DOB and DOT filing industry, and I just kind of think that, and this might be a big ask, but I'm asking you personally. Could you please email to Florence the DOT bicycle standards that we can distribute to the committee? Can you put that? Could we? I hope it's not inappropriate, but I'd like you to, since you're the guy out there, construction manager, if we could get from you the DOT standards and not just there's cones, there's shift. The DOT, I believe, has certain standards that we want to make sure your contractors are responsible for, because there's a lot of issues when construction happens in these bike lanes. So how do I formally ask you to send that to Florence in the next, I don't know how much time you need, 10 days or so?
I'm sorry, I don't think that that's appropriate. DOT standards.
Who's speaking?
My name is Richard David. I work at Con Edison.
What's your title, Rich?
I'm the Queen's Director at Con Edison.
Queen's Director of Con Edison.
DOT standards should come from DOT, and DOT attends the cabinet meetings every month. That would be an appropriate place to obtain any of DOT's requirements, including for biking.
So I disagree with you because you're the agency managing the project. So I do disagree with you. I respect your opinion. So the request is denied. Is that right?
We would Yes, we'd like you to obtain that from DOT, and we're happy to facilitate that if
The
it's
reason we
necessary.
want, sure, the reason we, okay, can you facilitate that?
Yeah, we're happy to write an email to DOT and copy Florence and ask
Perfect.
that the bike standards are shared.
Right, and that, I don't know if you understand like where I'm coming from, but we're just hearing about cones and shifting, and there are standards out there, and they've got dimensions, and they've got tapers, and they've got shifts. And we want a high standard of this management while Wilkins is managing the project. So thank you very much for doing that. So Richard David, you will email Florence, like just CC on an email to DOT for those standards?
I will.
Florence, is that your preference, Florence?
Thank you.
Is Florence on this?
Whatever the chair of the committee requests, I'll be happy to work with.
Okay, we're happy to comply with that, yes.
Okay, so Richard Davis, we have your contact info?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And so I just want to say your title, Queen's Director, sounds impressive, but a little vague. Director of?
Corporate Affairs is the division that we're in, and I oversee government and community relations for the company.
Thank you. Okay, so Bobby, please.
Yeah, thank you. I was just going to ask for more information, or if more information was available about the noise mitigation plan that was mentioned a couple times. So basically, same question about bike lane stuff. Just wondering if there's actual what are those guidelines, and how are they being either measured or checked, and yeah, just more specifics on that if something's available to share.
I think that would again come from DOT on the biking standards.
No,
I was asking about the noise.
The noise question.
Yeah.
Or
There was a
noise.
mention of a noise mitigation plan will be followed or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm just wondering if we could get more info on what exactly that noise mitigation plan is.
So to add to Richard, yes, those guidelines are set in by the DEP department, so they will come from them.
Okay, so you don't have those available? Or can you speak to them at all? I'm just curious, like what it means.
Sure. So DEP noise mitigation plan. So there is a department in DEP that monitors noise pollution. So the contractor, part of the DEP mitigation plan, uses X measures to minimize noise pollution, and there's guidelines of how they could adhere to it or lower noise pollution as per the guidelines of DEP. And then that plan, they come up with a plan, and then it's posted, and then we just make sure that the contractor is following it and they're doing the best that they can in terms of what the plan consists of and what's the requirements. Again, that comes from DEP, just like the DOT bike lane guidelines. That comes straight from DOT, whether it's us, whether it's another entity in New York City that's doing the work. It's just setting rules that anyone who's doing work has to follow.
Some of those rules, Bobby, will include things like all kinds of noise mitigation measures if you're putting down construction plates, for example, to make sure that the sound decibel levels, if a vehicle goes over it, doesn't exceed a certain amount. And the company will be fined if we are consistently violating those sound pollution norms. That's how the DOT and the city make sure that anyone doing work is protecting our residents and our right to have a good night's sleep, for example.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bobby, and thank you, Richard. Antonella?
Hey, thanks for all your questions, Dominic and Tom, because I know we have some environmental concerns, and since I'm also on the environmental committee, I wanted to ask on this Connecticut.gov website, it says that if power lines are less than 300 feet away from a home, we might want to obtain EMF measurements. what are the measurements? Like, I'm sure you've had similar projects. I know they're encased in concrete, but what are the measurements of the emitting electricity radiation coming out of the ground after installation? And if you don't have it, can you get that to us? Because I mean, these are going to be pretty close to the buildings that are livable, or residences. So we'd like to make it safe.
EMF standards are routinely raised in New York. As a company, we've been studying EMF since the 1970s when cell phone towers and other things became very prevalent in New York. We haven't found a single credible scientific source that backs up a correlation or a causation between EMF and our structures or related structures. If you can send us information that you're citing from a credible source in Connecticut, we'd be happy to look at that and to see what they're using as their source. But we don't have any of that, and we have not found any scientific source that backs that up.
Okay, this is on ct.gov. It's the Connecticut State website. So I will send that to Florence to send to you. But I would, but so you're saying you do not do any emission study?
No,
we do emission studies, but for electromagnetic fields, we have a long track record of making sure that we're studying that, but we also haven't found a source between that and it causing environmental harms to our residents. And
Okay.
I think someone was going to add something from the
Yeah.
Con Ed.
Yeah, Richard, thanks for explaining that. So we have done EMF studies in our new substations that we built, and this station also had that at that time when it was built. And I believe we did add EMF plates to the wall of the substation within there to contain there if there is any kind of like but I can get you the study and the record of what we have for the substation probably.
That would be great. Well, the fact
Yeah.
that you're doing EMF studies shows that there is a concern there. So it would be nice to see, especially because the substations are not that close to residences. What I'm more concerned about is if this Connecticut website, government website, under 300 feet is maybe a cause for concern, it would be nice to have those measurements, or at least measurements taken from similar sites to see what the output is. And there's so many research organizations that have credible studies, and I'll send them to Florence to send to you. But this is a concern now. It's a hot topic right now. A lot of people are concerned. So
Yeah, we have always done just so you know, like in our substations as well, whenever we build them, and also like the substation Newtown, when it was built in the late, I think early 2011, somewhere around that time, they had installed the plates on the inside of the substation to have any kind of chance of EMF shielding and grounding, So
That's
all
great.
that kind of stuff we take care of in terms of design. So that doesn't really should be a concern for us. So we have been like Richard mentioned, we have always done these studies, and then we made sure our public is safe from
Okay.
any kind of harm. Yeah.
So, Antonella, if you can send us the website, we'd love to look at it, and we'll follow up and respond and provide as much as we can about our measures to our study and our protective measures in our design for these substations.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, Tom, you still have your hand up. Is that because you didn't take it down?
Yeah, I just want to add something. We're having the public meeting on the 19th, so if the Con Ed people can have the answer to our questions, then it would be really helpful.
So today's the 13th. It's probably, okay, so that's 6 days from now. So that would be great if we could get the communication with DOT for the bike lane modifications during construction standards. And then sounds like Antonella is going to lead the EMF discussion by emailing something to Con Edison. So
don't forget the noise abatements.
Yeah. There was really no action about regarding the noise abatement. We were just told to kind of refer to DEP standards as far as I know, unless I missed something. Was there an action that I didn't note about DEP?
That was my understanding as well.
Yeah.
Is the request that we provide the follow-up responses to Florence before the next board meeting, or is the request that we attend that meeting and do something else?
Well, I think I'd like to leave it up to Evie, our chair, about inviting you to speak at the full meeting. Richard?
Through the chair,
Pardon me?
through the chair, Dom, Evie's out of touch at this point. We'll try to email her and ask if she wants to do an addendum to the agenda, but she's not going to be chairing that meeting.
And I don't know if we can assume that Richard and the team would even be available, but we definitely can ask. When is the construction starting, Rachel?
It's starting in January.
In January. Okay, so we have a December meeting too. Okay, great, understood. Florence, can you please speak to Evie about whether she wants to have this presentation at the open meeting and then
Will do.
communicate that to Con Ed, dependent on her answer? I mean, I guess it's a good idea. I think it's a good presentation here, and I really appreciate Con Ed's time. And I just want to just say half a sentence that I want it understood that the reason we're asking for these standards is not to be ball breakers at all. It's just so when we're in the street and the work's going on, we can go back and, we want to make sure you guys are armed with the latest standards so that when the work is, for example, I have a question and I don't know who it's directed to, probably Wilkins, but does Con Edison obtain DOT Series 200 construction equipment permits? Does Con Edison obtain street opening permits when they do this work, when they do this trenching in the street, or not?
So to answer your question, so any work that Con Ed does is a DOT regulation that Con Ed is the permittee on record. So it would be permittee number 010100, right? So any work that a contractor is doing, whether it's for electric, whether it's for gas work in their territory, whether it's for trimming a tree, it's Con Ed pulling the permits. The contractor, as per DOT, is not allowed to pull permits on behalf of Con Ed to do the work. So any street opening permits or mid-block intersections, it will be Con Ed pulling the permits. Any 221 signage permits, it will be Con Ed. And to answer your question, any storage area, porter sand, backhoe, excavator permits, or compressor permits, or signage in terms of message board, everything goes through Con Ed. That way, if there's any issue and DOT enforcement's out there, then the violation will go straight to Con Ed.
So appreciate that, and you've answered a lot of questions, but just to be thorough, there are other permits called partial street closure, partial sidewalk closure, and I believe there's a new one called partial or bicycle lane, shift or maintenance during construction. Do you also obtain those partial or full road closure permits under Con Ed whenever you do this work?
So when we obtain a full street road closure, because of the width of the street, for example, then it's a 2-week process. A sketch is involved, and it has to be vetted through DOT, and that will be Con Ed. The only time that I could speak of that it's not DOT is that when, for example, any type of work activity that Con Ed would do that requires a crane, then the street full road closure is taken out by the crane operator expediter, because it's the crane operator license that's used to hold the permit. In terms of any more specific than that question, will have to go through Rachel, and then they will have to seek the answer through the permits group.
Right. Okay. So the reason I'm asking, committee members is because all these permits come with these stipulations that create the type of barricades you need and the cone separation and the taper length and all that, and that's why I'm asking. So great. I have no more questions. I don't see any hands. Do Con Ed have any closing comments? But before you do, I hope you do, I just want to say I really appreciate your coming here today, and thank you very much for keeping the lights on, and all the four of you do. It's much appreciated.
Well, thank you for giving us the space. Really, it's about communicating, right, what this project is about, and getting the word out. There's a lot of people that live in Long Island City, and so this is part of our efforts, is really communicating with the affected boards, which is Community Board 1 and Community Board 2. So we do appreciate your questions. We will follow up. And we really appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you.
I just posted that media thing from Connecticut's website. So if you guys want to take it down from the chat, or I can also have Florence send it to you, but it's there. Thanks.
Okay. So I think this is the part of the meeting. Thanks, Con Ed.
All right. Bye.
Thanks so much. Nice to meet you, Rachel, and good luck in Amsterdam.
Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. New business, I believe, is I actually have to check the agenda, but I think that was the only item on Florence's memo.
Hey,
Yeah.
thank you so much. I couldn't come off mute early enough, but we appreciate your time. It's Richard at Con Ed. Have a good night.
Thanks, Richard. So I'm just looking for the memo, but I think that was the only item on the agenda. Of course.
Was Dominic?
Hey, Tom.
I just wanted to correct myself. There is a public meeting, but it's not Con Ed. It's the Chaplin Hudson
Right.
Power Express. They're
Yep,
doing a
yep.
presentation.
You're breaking up, Tom. What about Hudson Champlain?
No, I thought Con Ed was speaking at the public meeting, but it's Chaplin Hudson Power Express.
Yes,
that's
that's
gonna be at
something
this-
different.
That's going to be at this. Are you saying that that's going to be at this month's public meeting?
Full board meeting,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
That's
great.
something different. That's not this.
Right,
I
right.
know
They are,
that.
yeah,
Right.
right, understood. They're actively working on Randall's Island right now. If you do ever cycle from Bronx to Queens, you'll see that they're bringing their lines through that connector from the Harlem River to the East River. So we're on the topic of new business, and I see Adam and then Antonella. So Adam, I don't know who was first, so I'm going to say Adam because he's earlier in my page here. Adam? Hi, Adam.
Hi. Yeah, on the topic of new business, as we may be aware, that 31st Avenue has had big changes over the past few months that have been done in increments. So there's like a conversion to one-way and a bike lane that has been added. It's been fully completed from Vernon Boulevard up to Crescent, I believe, and mostly completed from Crescent to 31st. All the markings on the road have been removed from 31st up to Steinway, and templated markings have been put down, but no other markings have been put down. And I've heard that they're not going to be able to finish this project in time for the season. I guess once it gets cold enough, the markings can no longer stick to the asphalt anymore, and so they need to wait until the spring when it warms up again to put the markings down. I was wanting to propose that if we could send some a letter to DOT or something requesting that if it is the case that they're not able to finish this project by the end of November or whenever this season, that they do more than just leave the road unpaved, that they either put down temporary markings, even if they won't last, or use cones as they have on the other sections of this to make the traffic patterns clear. It's pretty dangerous the way they've just left it kind of as a free-for-all, and to leave it that way for months would be a pretty bad outcome for the neighborhood. Another option might be, another thing we could suggest is, like, if you can paint crosswalks at the very least. Open to suggestions on that, or drafting a letter that we can look at, but I think it's something that we should take up and send a letter to them.
Through the chair, Dom,
Yeah, Florence?
that's an office thing. Adam can write to me in the office, send an email tonight. I'll shoot something off to DOT first thing in the morning. The committee doesn't need a letter. That's constituent concern. Adam can send that in writing to me. I will use some of his verbiage and I will send an email to DOT to make that request immediately. It's not something you have to wait on.
I will send that along, but I do think it's more than a constituent concern. I think it's something that the Transportation Committee,
It's simple. I mean, you have a choice to wait to go to full board vote on it or me send it out tomorrow morning. This is something a district manager can do. It's under my purview. I'm just
maybe we can do both
get it out
then.
tomorrow.
I
It can
think
go
I
out
think
tomorrow.
I think it would be good to have something come. I mean, I'll defer to Dom on this as to what makes most sense from the chair, but I do think it's something that we could do both on. I would hope everything we can do so that it's not dangerous there.
Well, so first of all, and I operate in a very informal way. I appreciate the topic being added to the new business, and I think and I'm sure Florence would agree that that's appropriate. So and I like the idea of Florence's suggestion to rapidly send something that kind of puts it on record. So what will Florence, what will your quick and standard communication
Standard is
to DOT include, if you could?
so Adam sends me an email with his concerns. I follow up with my rep stating I have received these concerns from a resident of Astoria and these need to be addressed. Please, can you address them right away? It's very short, sweet, and to the point.
Sure it is.
And if Adam weren't the one doing it and any resident were to have sent this to the office, this would go out in the same fashion.
Right.
That's what the office does.
Right. And who is your DOT rep?
Joseph Patty.
Joseph Patty, right?
Yes.
Which is, yeah, you broke up a bit. Joseph Patty, I met him once. And that would probably be who would receive.
And I work with Nicole Garcia also.
Sure, right, understood. No, we know those players, and I wasn't sure if you had a different DOT dimension when you mentioned your rep, a little more.
No. I work directly with Nicole and I work directly with Joe.
Okay, good.
And if I have to, I work with Al, or if I have to work with anybody else, I work with them as well.
But only if you have to.
Project.
I'm joking.
No, when it's depending on what the situation is. Different people handle different things.
Right.
The role is there are 50 board members and one district manager, and as per the New York City Charter, the district manager works with each agency, as you know, to take care of constituent concerns.
Right. So, Adam, you're requesting something a little more formal, I believe, which is a little, like Florence will receive back. Your concerns will be addressed, and then after they're addressed, we may receive back a communication which says your concerns have been addressed. So, but I think you're looking for something. I think we can basically get your strong point across through Florence by just possibly many people agreeing with it and sending it, but the strength of that email really will make Florence's communication the appropriate communication and not just maybe less efficient than it could be. So we need to follow up. I know there's other DOT things that we've had sent and we have not heard back. That resolution that you penned is one example. So let's start with, if it's okay, Adam, and I don't mean to be definitive, but let's get that email, please, to myself and Nas, if you don't mind, and maybe we can support it with an email too, so Florence can say, I've gotten this from a number of members, and Florence will send that and she'll copy Nas and I, and we'll take it from there. So I think we'll just let's approach that tonight. We'll see what happens. Adam?
Yeah, that sounds good. I think the main concern for me was just something that can make it our business that we can follow up on if there isn't a response. Whatever, method to do that is best. And I think, the faster we can do it, the better. So I appreciate that suggestion, Florence.
Through the chair, just so everybody knows, as a resident of Astoria, any concern that you put through the board office, you're always welcome to contact me. And if I have not heard back from DOT, I will follow up with them upon your follow-up. and I will tell you what they say at that moment. So Adam, if you were to contact me tomorrow and you give DOT a respectable amount of time, 7 to 10 days, and then you were to follow up with me in 7 to 10 days, if I did not have a response from them, I would reach out upon your second follow-up. I would ask them, hey, I'm getting a follow-up. Do you have an answer? And I would tell you whatever DOT said when you were to follow up with me. You don't have to wait.
Okay. Adam, I'm going to move on to Antonella, or any more in your, as you have the floor.
That's all my business. Yeah.
Good new business. Antonella,
Just a quick question. I saw on the outer roadway on the Queensboro Bridge that they started putting up the chain link fencing. Do you have the status on, does anyone have this? If you don't, it's fine, as to like when it's expected to be completed and when they're going to close it to traffic. And also, this is perfect. I mean, solely, they were supposed to, they said that they were going to put like viewpoints on within the fencing so people could look out. Now, since it's kind of opaque and a little bit blocked, I don't know if anyone has info on that.
so this, if I may, I don't have any info, but I think that the same effective suggestion would be, if you wouldn't mind, and if you do mind, I can do it myself, but we're basically saying an email to Florence.
Okay.
Asking, please provide status on the opening date of the southbound, is it called south? It's not really southbound, but the south side, eastbound outer roadway for pedestrians. And secondly, will the transition include viewing gaps or openings in the south-facing CLF, chain link fence? Okay, Antonella, can you send that email to?
Yeah, absolutely.
Copy me, or would you want? Okay, so copy me too, and I'm going to do the same and ask. A few of us will ask Florence, and we'll arm her with much interest. Great, thanks. Pardon? Okay, so thanks, Antonella. Any more while you have the floor?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thanks. Shannon, you had your hand up and you've removed it. So come on.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, I have two questions. One regarding the 31st Avenue. I hear a lot about like especially when you're coming to the crescent now, people was complaining like it's very danger and is no sign like, and they asking if can be redo this work. And we hear last time from some residents in the last meeting, I believe, about like to park is like to have to go around their house and not easy like before. This is about 31st Avenue. The other question was about the stop for 36th Avenue and 21st Street for 69. It was removed, and the people, I believe, they signed petition and they was asking why this one removed, and it's like really important. In 36th Avenue, you have a charter school, you have a church, you have another 67, I believe, school. Beside the housing, and is a really active area, whereas people can go to the trade fair, go to the shopping area. Why this special 36th Avenue and 21st Street stop cannot be put it back? If we can bring MTA and we talk about this, because we hear a lot about this stop for 69.
So I just want a record. You said Q69 bus on 36th Avenue and 21st Street. Is it westbound or eastbound stop removed?
Both stop is removed.
Both stops removed.
Yeah, this side was this and this side. Both is removed.
Wait, okay. When were they removed?
Like now almost a year, and people trying, and we don't hear anything. And I see people sign petition, people doing a lot of stuff outside, but we didn't hear anything. And even people trying, but if we can get the MTA and we try this, because it's really important stop, especially in the night. It's really not safe to walk. This block is not easy and dark, and it's really important, because especially also in the morning when it's school time, 2 schools drop in this 36th Avenue, one in 12th Street and the other one in 10th Street. beside a lot of people go to church in the 11th Street and the food pantry, and you have another school also in the 11th Street, the Green School, Grow NY is a green school, also charter school, is a really active spot. And the other side, you go to the trade fair, you go to the shopping. A lot of people use the stop and they trying. And until now, you will see the stop is still like they have the chair, the bench there and everything. But even people get confused, they're waiting. And when they press to stop, they not stop there because it's no longer.
So I think what you're referring to here, because I take that bus a lot, and we're talking along 21st Street, right? So the
Yeah.
Q69 stop, not the Q66, because the Q66
No, Q69.
69. So I think what you're referring to is that there previously were two stops on the same block, because there's still a stop on 35th or 36th Avenue, I think 35th Avenue, I
You have
believe.
now, they have one in 35 and one in 36. It's the same if you go to Queensbridge, you have the same two
Yeah.
stops in the
Yeah.
same block. And
Yep.
it's not fair.
Yep.
It's not, if
Yeah.
you, the people like was asking, okay, why you remove this, but you didn't remove the other one? It's the same exactly block there. And they left both the other two there, but they removed the one in 36th Avenue. And I
Yeah.
think it's not fair. You have a school, you don't have school in this block at all. This is the active block. The people a lot when you are in the bus, you don't see people using the stuff for the 40th Avenue, but they're using the stuff for 41st. In 36th Avenue, a lot of people use it.
Mm-hmm. I know exactly the one you're talking about. Yeah, there's the one right by the F train station, like on the
Yes.
same block, but it does stop twice, and I've been on the bus when it stopped twice. I know they removed one between on 21st Street between Broadway and 34th Avenue, like in front of that little mini mall where the Popeyes is and there's
Yes.
the Dunkin' Donuts. There's also an empty bus shelter there that they no longer stop at. I think they made that decision, you're right, like a year ago to think they said they wanted to speed up the bus more, but I hear what you're saying as far as the other one. Yeah, it's definitely it was a used stop when I used to take it over
Through
there.
the chair, Dom,
Hi, Florence.
Kian is spot on. Everything he said is 100% accurate. Shahanaza, if you send me an email tomorrow with all the information you just stated, I took notes, but I didn't catch everything. It would be much better for you to give me the details in an email. I will send it off to MTA this morning. But what Kian said is spot on. They wanted to increase the bus service. And from what they tallied, Kian, if I'm not wrong, wasn't it a 3-minute increase in the bus route because of
Correct.
that? So
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
it was eliminated. So if you send me that email, I will shoot it off specifically because of the children at the school.
Yes, please.
Okay, so send that to me and I'll shoot that off for you.
Thanks, Florence.
I would even add at the bare minimum, even if they don't put it back, just to put a sign up to say it's not an active bus stop anymore.
So that's
that
what I was
point,
going to ask.
There's nothing indicating it. I've seen people sitting there waiting for the bus and it doesn't stop there. There is nothing to signify that it's no longer a bus stop. It just looks like a regular shelter. So, totally here wanting to put it back, but independent of that, even if they don't, it is crazy that there's no signage to indicate to people.
Oh,
That's
thanks a lot.
that's interesting. So Shahanaz, will you add that to your email, Shahanaz, to inform them that the inactive shelters still have no signage and they appear to be active bus stops?
Yes, no problem. What about 31st Avenue?
So your second question was about the Q69 and your first question was about 31st Avenue. I think that the decision on 31st Avenue comments back, was it a month ago, I think? Maybe it was at the open meeting, was to, and I agree with it, to give it time. You gotta give it time to settle in. It's not even, as Adam was saying, it's not even finished yet. So I think that no response is valid on that.
Thank you.
When you make scrambled eggs, you break eggs.
I'm walking person. I don't drive. I don't like driving. I have my license, but I'm walking. But I hear from people.
Okay, Adam, your hand is still up.
Yeah, I just wanted to excuse me, just wanted to add a little context about 31st Avenue. Is I think part of the reason it's been so chaotic and people have been having trouble with it is because the DOT has been leaving it unfinished for so long. The section between Crescent and 31st was very chaotic for a while, but they finally painted the lines and it's been a lot calmer as someone who uses that a lot. So that's part of my request. And also, I think, now that their lines are down there, hopefully it's more clear what everyone should be doing and not quite as much of a Wild West anymore for drivers and pedestrians and bikers alike.
Adam, I'm sorry. I go north on Crescent and I was on 31st. Where did you say markings were complete?
Markings are complete on 31st from Vernon Boulevard to Crescent, and then they are mostly complete from Crescent to 31st Street. There's some like center lines missing and things like that, but most of the lines are down.
From Crescent to 31st, they're mostly complete now?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Repeat the last part, Crescent, the last part was mostly convinced Crescent to 31st. Was that what you said, Adam?
The markings are mostly complete Crescent to 31st, yeah.
Thank you, 31st Street.
Yes.
Thank you, I apologize.
Yeah, and just to add on the 31st Ave thing, it's my daily work commute, so I'm actually multiple times going around it. And yeah, I think the big issue, especially like, this is one of the sections that has had maybe the most outreach from DOT that I've ever seen in all my years here. But yeah, I think the big issue is that these projects really drag on for a long time. So people get a little riled up early on, especially because, yeah, it's like they don't have all that signage around. Even I was like extra careful on my commutes at the intersection of 31st and Crescent because like it was very clear that people weren't still adjusting. I would say also, like, I think in the past 2 weeks, at least the signs are up in that intersection and it's felt a lot better. But yeah, I think kind of a general issue with DOT is that sometimes these like slightly more involved designs take way too long to phase in. That's a whole logistics thing with them that, I mean, they're probably aware of it, but yeah, do they have the capacity to change that with all their contractors? I don't know. And then I would also just add, just because you brought it up, in the vein of like people getting very like, animated about this very new design. I was there for the meetings too, where I heard people say that, oh, I have to go 5 blocks now to get to my house. I'll be super generous when I say this. That's factually not true. They're just one-way streets now in certain directions. So like, yes, you may have to go around the block once, but we even asked DOT, we looked at the maps, like there is in no way someone that has to go 5 blocks further out of their way to get into their driveway. Like it's just not true. So they may have been a little frazzled just because of like everything was so new. So just my anecdotal observation on that.
Well, I think you're a bit more of a straight shooter than my attempt at diplomacy to say, let it settle. So I appreciate that, Nas. Shahanez, we down here where I am in South Dutch Kills, everything funnels into the 59th Street Bridge. And so the discussion of whether these streets and these sidewalks are for the travelers to go through or for the residents to enjoy. So it affects everybody's quality of life and it's a balance. And just like with the bus, if you take a bus stop away, then the people on the bus that are traveling through save time. So it's a balance. So that's where we are. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, my thank you. Does anybody else have any more new business? On one topic that I was discussing with NAS was an interest in having a joint meeting with the Public Safety Committee to speak to the 114 representatives about a few topics. And so we're going to try to schedule that with Florence and Evie's help for the coming months.
Yeah, this, I think probably the critical one in the group of topics would be the abnormal amount of high-speed chases that 114th officers have been deciding to engage in. I'm sure you all heard about it. We lost someone in the community just the other week. I happen to know her personally from an online Astoria group, so everyone took that really hard. And yeah, it's there's a lot of information out there about how the rate of high-speed chases have increased for the past few years, and Astoria is actually a really big outlier in those situations. So we would like to talk to them about that, as well as, you know, kind of general stuff, which again is not unique to Astoria, but like the whole thing with the ghost plates and the covered license plates, which a lot of these high-speed chases are involved with vehicles that have these things on, because it's obviously a good way to stay untraced if you're driving around the city trying to do something. So it's all going to kind of relate in terms of what they're doing regarding pursuits and just general sense of like safety when it comes to bad actors that are on the road.
I want to add to that as well and say that I attend every 114th precinct meeting each month, and I think now on 2 occasions within the last year, I've stood up and I've kind of hounded them about their chase policy, specifically because I was reading a lot of the research coming out about how it's up tremendously under the Adams administration. And specifically when it happened in the summer, a cyclist was also hit and they were critically injured. This was back in July. Yeah, and I asked them to clarify their policy, and they emphasized to me that, you know, they make a determination as to whether they feel the risk is worth it, and I asked them to kind of elaborate what it is. And mostly it comes down to, is the threat you know, greater than what it would be to the general public? And they said in most cases, I would agree with you. That chase of the, you know, where the cyclist got injured was inappropriate, and we don't intend to do that again. And then this happened. So
yeah, and they have largely been inappropriate because basically, like, yeah, you pretty much had the policy there where it's like, hey, is the chase worth it? Meaning, is not chasing this person going to risk a loss of life compared to chasing them?
Yeah.
And as we know, or as we may not all know from the most recent death, it was a burglary. And of course, burglaries are bad, but probably not worth, actually, I can say definitely not worth the life of a community member. So they can say one thing, but we're not seeing that executed on a daily basis, which is, yeah, kind of the reason why we want to make this a bigger conversation.
Thank you. So we'll try to make that happen. I guess old business should have come before new business, and it didn't. Any old business? No. Okay. So yeah, I guess I want to thank everybody. I think there's nothing more, so I guess we'll adjourn if we can get a motion to do that. Oh, but before we do, I'd just like to ask Florence something, if you're still here, Florence.
Yes.
Thanks, and thanks for your time, by the way, on all these meetings.
Always. What you do is very important.
Thanks, you too. And I'd like you to, could you copy me? I'd like you to copy me on those emails that we're sending to the DOT that are going to stem from Adams and Shahanaz.
We, as district managers, do not share liaisonship emails. I will share all the information. I will give you a copy of what I send them, and I will give you a copy of what I send. We don't share contact information with liaisons as per the New York City Charter. There are 50 board members and 1 district manager. The district manager interacts with the city agencies. I will give you all the information, and I will be completely transparent with you. But
so you'll, sure, understood. You'll be
as always.
You'll be forwarding these communications as like an attachment to an email or something. Is that what you're saying?
You'll get everything that I send them, and you'll get everything that they respond. You just won't see their emails.
Okay, that's fine. But yeah, okay, very good. Thanks very much.
Sure. My pleasure. And please, everybody who's going to send emails, if you want, send them tonight. I will send them out first thing in the morning. If you prefer to send them tomorrow, I have meetings in the morning, so they'll go out after my meetings. But if you want to send them tonight, I welcome them to come in tonight.
Not me, I'm exhausted, but thank you. So,
Whatever you guys want, whatever works for you. It depends how fast.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second,
Thanks, everybody.
Great
See you
night.
night.
at the open meeting. All the best. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harish Studios. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for another meeting. Well.
You're welcome. Have a good night.